Hello. What's up, everybody? Hold up. Take it slow for a couple minutes. Just gonna give everybody a chance to get in here. Let me know if the mic is working, how's the volume and all that. Is it fine? How's everybody doing? All good. Nice to see you again. Voice check, 1, 2, 3. Is the mic working? What's up, Christopher, Carl? I think all three of you were here last time, I think, maybe. If I am not entirely wrong. Good evening, Clarissa. Some hearts to you. Is the music too loud? Is it fine like this? Am I audible? Yeah. Nice, great. Okay, great. I'm glad I fixed that. Yeah, so for the new people here, I am Onua, and I'm a student at CADA, and I'll be your instructor today. What's up, Sam? Hello? Yeah. Alright, today is modeling, guys. Exciting stuff. Hard to say about the music, it's good at this level. Okay, great. So how many of you people were here yesterday, or not yesterday, last time, sorry. I think a couple. I'm gonna lurk in the background, for sure. I mean, feel free to join in at any time. I think I found a cool subject for today, and it's one that you can join if you have modeling experience or not. I think you wrote on the Discord before, right, Zinzin? You had a bit of modeling experience? You can kind of go wild with this subject, so. And while we're talking about modeling experience, I was here last time. Nice, I'm glad to see you again. Yeah. So, has any of you all tried modeling before, or is this like a first time thing? Great. I hope you all enjoyed the sculpting. I thought it was cool. Complete noob? Okay. That's fine. I'll take you through it from the very beginning. Do you have Blender installed and open? Once or twice? Yep, son. Yep, I believe that. Sohan is Shanimations, by the way, people. In the same class as me. Learning Blender, great. Okay, so you have it. Open and ready, I presume. Oh, sneak peek, whoa. Maybe one of these. It's hard to sculpt in AutoCAD. Yes, that would be very difficult. I do believe that would be very difficult. You can make some cool stuff though. There's people have started using plasticity and more traditionally Fusion 360, and they make like kind of the AutoCAD workflow, but they make models for games actually, which is really cool. You might enjoy that. It's a little more free form, but it's kind of the same principles. Alright everybody, is that enough with the introductions? Are we ready to get into it? Open up your Blender and just get it ready if you haven't already, so I don't lose anyone. Oh yeah, okay, great. Great. So, enough with the holding back, today's subject is gonna be a little shop. Yeah, we're gonna be doing a little shop. And it might seem a little bit daunting, but I promise I'll make it simple. And it'll be nice, and if you have a little bit of experience, you can just add anything cool that you want to this shop. And if you're new, you can just follow what I'm doing and follow along. It'll be really simple. It'll be really fun, I hope. You can go wild with it. So these are just examples of like little 3D shops. So very simple, just a cute little thing. But the one that I want to go with today is this kind of little ramen noodle stand. So this is like a little building set or something, so it's a real life thing, but we'll try to recreate it in 3D. A simple version. And then if you feel like you want to go ham on it and you're the master of modeling, go ahead and do whatever it is that your heart desires with it. Isometric, I like the style. Yeah. The inner engineer coming out in you, Coral. Let me see that. Yeah, great. Okay, so let's take it from the very, very beginning. I'll pull this reference back later and I'll have it on screen. But for now, let's just sort of get into what everything here is. So sculpting, like we did last time, is a lot more free flow than what we're doing now. There's some sort of rules that you have to abide by. I make it sound really harsh or something, but it's not really. It's just that you have tools, specific tools, and that makes it so you need to kind of understand those tools, right? You have polygons, all these things, you gotta extrude, you gotta inset. You can't just draw on the surface, right? There's some sort of logic to it. But this kind of logic can really help you, but it can also make some stuff difficult. So sometimes you want to sculpt something, other times you want to model something. It's a really abstract way of me explaining it. I hope it makes a little bit of sense, but we'll get into it. So, first of all, what you see in the middle is your viewport. Everything around it is menus, right? So in the middle is kind of what we're going to be working with. Kind of like our clay from ZBrush. So to rotate around this, you use the middle mouse. Yep, makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So you use the middle mouse to rotate around. And then to pan, you add a shift to that, to shift middle mouse. So you can use these two in conjunction, yeah. But Blender is a bit hard to start with. Yeah, yeah, it can be, but you can take it really slow, and we'll take it really slow today as well. I'll kind of show a way to get results with very, very basic tools too. Doesn't have to be all at once. Yeah, so the thing about Blender is we're going to be using a very, very small portion of it, but it really is kind of like a Swiss Army knife of 3D. There's so many different things you can do with it, and today we're just going to be doing very, very basic modeling, kind of to start off with. Is one able to watch these streams at a later date? I'm currently working on a different model, but I would love to do this later. Yeah, of course. As soon as I'm done here, it will be uploaded on the YouTube channel. You just gotta go into the live section, and then it should be the newest one that's been uploaded there. And if you do work on it later, definitely post it on the Discord. I would love to see that. Okay, so where were we at? The navigation, middle mouse, shift middle mouse. You can kind of switch in between these to go around, and then you scroll to zoom in and out. It's kind of simple. A lot of use of the mouse and the middle mouse. So yeah, just do this for a little bit and get kind of used to it, because we'll be moving around a lot. I want it to feel a bit natural for you all. And then we don't really have brushes here. Blender does have a sculpting mode, which is also pretty fantastic, but for now we're just going to be using the modeling tools. So instead of the brushes, we have different tools with different functions, and you find them out here on the left. Yours might be collapsed like this, and you just gotta press this little arrow out here. It's a little bit difficult to see on the stream, I know, but there's a little arrow right here. So you press it, and then this is basically your selection tool. You can select stuff with it. And then you have your move tool here. It just takes whatever your selection is and moves it. And you have your axes here, X, Y, and Z, and you can move them around. And if you ever want to undo something, and feel free to play around with the scene right now, you're not going to break anything. If you do break anything, just close Blender and reopen it anew. It's completely fine. Right now is the time to play and get used to it. Yeah, so with the move tool, you can move stuff around. If you're a hotkey fiend, you can click G to move stuff. And then while you've clicked G, you can click X to move on the X axis, Z, and Y on the Y. So you can already see that it already feels a little bit more rigid than something like ZBrush would. And that comes with some disadvantages, but also great advantages. It's a more controlled kind of environment. So we can rotate as well, kind of self-explanatory. So you can rotate on all the axes right here. Great. You have the scaling tool, so you can scale up and down. If you grab the white ring around it, it's on all the axes. And then you can scale on individual axes here. And so something that's really useful are these squares here. Don't underestimate those. You can scale on 2 axes at the same time. So basically what it does, like this, is just scale on the green and the red at the same time. Oops, green and the red at the same time. Does that make sense to everybody? Nothing too complicated yet, I hope. We'll get into what polygons are and all those things in a second. Let me know if it's making sense and you're able to use the hotkeys and stuff. Oh yeah, and by the way, I should say, if you ever get lost in your scene, there's a home button on your keyboard and you can kind of press that to return. Out here are all your objects in the scene, so you can have different objects. So if I copy paste my cube, you'll see that I now have a cube and a cube 1. And then I'll have a cube 2 now. Right, so you can always control what you see and what you don't see in your scene over here and where stuff is. And you can also select out here in what we call the outliner. The 2-dimensional scale, yeah, of course, okay. So you know how you can scale on the y-axis or the x-axis, but sometimes, let's say I just want to make this thinner. So instead of going in here and sort of eyeballing it, like how do we make it like evenly thin, you can click the little square down here to scale it on both axes at the same time, and it kind of does that. Super useful, super useful. Does that make sense? You can scale it on these 2 axes. So, very useful. And it's also the same with the moving. So you can also move it on 2 axes at the same time. So you can kind of see what that does. Yeah, nice, okay. So the outliner here, you can select your objects. So we can get into everything about poly modeling and stuff like that, but I think even with these really basic tools, we can actually already get started on our model, which is great. So, because I don't want to be super teacher and only teach, we also gotta make some stuff, because that's fun as well. So I'll try my best to make this visible for you all, and you can feel free to follow along with me. So we'll do a really basic version of this, so just very what you call low poly. So sort of low fidelity, but still has some charm to it. So you select stuff and left click, of course, if you didn't already. Yeah, exactly, Paygram. So what Paygram is talking about is, so of course you can scale with shortcuts too. So you can click S, and then you can scale on the Z axis by clicking Z, Y axis by clicking Y, X axis by clicking X. And then you can click Shift Z to kind of exclude the Z axis and scale it to other axes. But if all the hotkeys are a bit much right now, you don't have to worry about it too much. I'll be using a lot of the basic tools out here just to be more beginner friendly. But whatever it is that you think is fun, if you want to learn the hotkeys, you're more than welcome. Go right ahead. I love my own hotkeys, but just today, I'll go super beginner friendly and basic. It's a good tip, Pigram. Okay, let's go ahead. So we see a lot of boxy shapes here, and we can just start off with whatever we kind of want. So for me, it makes sense to just start off with the counter, because it's just like a major element and stuff comes out of it and up from it. So first things we can do is we can scale our little cube to fit this counter space. So we want it to be thin. And you might notice that if you want it to be thin, it becomes kind of difficult to control it down here. So one thing, oh whoops, accidentally clicked button. And let me know if you guys accidentally click something as well. So I'm Control Z-ing to go back, right? So you can scale it down a little bit, let go, and then scale it again, and you get a little bit more control that way, because now I can sort of do that. So what I'm looking at right here is just this counter space, and you can go ahead and follow about what I'm doing. Our shops don't have to look the same, they just have to look nice. So do whatever it is that you feel is right for this counter. So I just scaled it, and now I'm moving it up. Moving it up right here. That's it. So I'll go like very slow in the beginning, and let me know if you're following along or if I lose you. Because I know, like, of course, all these things can be very difficult if it's your very, very first time. So if you get to this point, there's this tab right here called Add. And here you can add new geometry, which is what we call like the little pieces, the object, right? So you have your spheres here, you have cubes, you have like donuts and stuff in here too, called a torus. But for now, all we need is a simple box, a simple cube. And now I'll go for this little big sort of support part down here. Super simple. We just use the tools I showed already, and we scale it to sort of fit what it is that we see. And we can be kind of mindful of the little grid on the ground, because that shows where the sort of ground plane is. So I gotta move it up a little bit more, because you see it's like going into it like that, and then we can scale. And of course I know there's better ways to do this, but this right here, guys, is just to get you all familiar with the basic tools of scaling and moving and stuff like that. And I'll show you how to get deeper into all the poly modeling and stuff like that. Great. So okay, if you ever end up in this situation where I just put it wonky for no apparent reason, if you see there's a little arrow on the right side, everybody, if you click it, you can see information about whatever it is that you have selected. So right now I can see that I accidentally moved my cube on an axis that I wasn't supposed to. So on the red axis, we look up here, it's X. So it has been moved on the X axis, and we can just click this number and then write 0 to move it back. It's kind of like a coordinate system, like you would know it from high school or stuff like that. I promise there's no heavy math, don't get scared, but some basic stuff, right? Oh, so we made a counter. Is this working for people? Are the basic tools serving you? Are you able to sort of do something with them already? Let me know, everybody. Yeah, okay. So let's try something fun now then. So just like I copied the cubes around before, we can also reuse parts. So I'm just gonna left click, select the top counter. Yeah, nice. Okay, great. Good job. Good job, everybody. I'm proud. So Control C, Control V. Like you would know it from Word or your browser, any other software. It's very similar. So Control C and Control V. Then nothing happens because they're both exactly on top of each other, so we can't see it. And we just drag this little thing up. As you can see, I'm gonna try to make the roof right now. So kind of just eyeball the shape a little bit, the position. Let's say I want to make it a little bit thinner, I can do that. And now I go ahead and I rotate it on one axis. Great. People getting the roof right. And also guys, let me know if there's anything you're like curious about or something you want explained further or something like that. I am more than happy to do that. Okay. So once you rotate it and get it where you want, we can add more cubes. So the shortcut to add stuff, instead of going up here every time, is Shift A. So Shift A, you get this little add menu. Right. And now I'm going for these beams here on the side. And we don't have to follow the reference completely. We're just trying to have a little bit of fun and see what we can do with the software. So now I could go in and I could go ahead and like scale it on one axis and then the other and try to eyeball it and all that. But if you remember from before, you can use this little cube down here or this little square and scale it on two axes at the same time. And same principle, you let go and then you can have a little bit more fine control of it. So let's say this is what I want. And maybe I want it to be a little bit flat, kind of like a plank or something like that. Move it into place. Yeah, and now, quick, we can Control C, Control V, and we have another one. Then we just scale this one down too. Nice. And now, pay attention, we can click one and then shift click another. It's also a very common shortcut, even in Windows, File Explorer and stuff like that. We can select multiple by holding down shift and then clicking another. And now, at the same time, we can duplicate them. So Control C, Control V, and we can pull it over to the other side. And there are smart ways of doing this. You can actually mirror one side of an axis to another side, but for right now we're just keeping it simple and we're moving stuff. So try to eyeball it. Yeah, exactly, Mira. It's a great tool, but we're just keeping it simple. If you want to use Mira, you're more than welcome to. So what Pragen is talking about is there's certain tools inside Blender that can help your workflow a lot, that automate little tasks for you, like mirroring stuff across an axis. Are people getting to this point? Maybe getting a little more comfortable with these tools? Yeah. Okay. So I want to do these little beams on the top here. I'm not doing anything in a super specific order. Well, I tried to get like the big pieces first, and now I'm getting like the smaller pieces. So we can copy the roof, because it's already rotated and angled, right? So just copy it, paste it, move it up a little bit, and then we can scale it down. Whoops. And now, if you wanted to make them a bit shorter, you could try to scale them, but if you notice, the axes are going completely horizontal, but our plank is rotated. So what happens is when you scale it, oh, never mind. That was not supposed to work that well. I have whoa. Okay. Never mind, guys. Yeah, you just go ahead and scale it. I am surprised. Maybe it's a new Blender thing. It just works right out the box. Great. I'm actually fairly confused about that, but great for us. So you just scale it down. Simple as that. Not more complicated. That's just good for us. Yeah, so basically just go ahead, Control C, Control V. Control C, Control V. And you know, for me, I don't worry about making it too perfect at this stage. You know, it's a little ramen shop. There's also a little bit of charm to some unevenness. It keeps it sort of less static and gives it a little bit more charm and life, is what I would say. Okay, I'm gonna move on to these little pieces down here, and this will be the first time that we're using poly modeling. And I can show you why we end up in this situation. And if you ever end up like wanting, like all the proportions are a little bit wrong, left click and then drag a box across everything, and you can scale all of it at the same time. Oh, you can do that if you want to. Or if you want it to be a little bit longer or something, oops, you can do that too. But I think it's actually fine like this. Yep, so add mesh cube. Let's go for these pieces here. So, gonna scale it down, flatten it, make it into like a plank here, and then scale it on these two axes. I would recommend, if you end up really enjoying this, definitely learn the hotkeys. I use them all the time on my own too. They're super useful and they really make the experience a lot more smooth. So now we have a problem, because this shape doesn't really fit in here. Like, you can't make a box into something that is not a box, if that makes sense, right? So if we go from the side view, the kind of shape that we have is, excuse my mouse drawing, we have a shape that goes something like this on the drawing. And yeah, we can't really get that with a cube. So what do we have to do now? We have to go in and we have to edit the shape of our object. And this is sort of the complete like main part of poly modeling. This is what you do. So to do that, and by the way, if you're curious how I went into side view, yep, exactly, Zinzin, that's completely correct. So I clicked number 3 on my numpad. And if you don't have a numpad or something, you can also click these little icons up here where it says X. You can go to like an orthographic view on the X-axis. Okay. So how do we proceed from here? We want to get that kind of shape here. So what we do is we go and edit our object. So Blender has a couple different modes. So this mode, I'm able to select different objects. You see up here in my outliner how I'm selecting different cubes. And if you want to edit a cube, you go to the top left mode and you can change this to edit mode. Kind of makes sense. And if you want to switch, so now I can select the other cubes, I can edit the cube I'm in currently. If you want to switch between these, you can click tab or just go back up and click object mode right here. Okay, so what we can do here is bevel. Beveling is a good option. So what does that look like? Go here and you can bevel. That's an option for sure. It's actually a very quick option, but I want to show people sort of the loop cut, what that is. So you have these kind of edges. You have edges, you have points. So between 2 points, there's an edge. So up here, you can switch between what you select. You can switch point, you can select points. You can select an edge, and then 4 edges or 4 points together, they make what we call a face. So this is a polygon. Okay? So these surfaces are what we call polygons. And we don't need to get into super the specifics of what that means, but just know that they are polygons. Okay, so if we try to drag something to try to make the shape, because we're used to dragging and using these basic tools, we still can't get a shape. There's simply not enough edges. So we need to create some new edges to get the shape that we desire. So a way to do that is correct, like Priam said, we can use a bevel. So there's a bevel tool right here, and you can bevel the edge right here. Another way to do it is you can add some more geometry, just straight up. So there's something called a loop cut tool here, and what it does is it tries to go around your object and add edges. So right here we basically have their object, and then we can select this one edge right here, and we can move it. Oh, oops, I completely brain farted. Sorry, it's the other way, of course. So we can do this, and then we can have it again like that. And now when we move an edge, we can get that kind of shape. So does that make sense to people? So before, when we were missing this, it just goes straight ahead, but now when it has some more edges there, it can hold the shape. And this is essentially what the bevel does too. So with the bevel, you just add an edge here and an edge here. It just doesn't have the ones that go across. So try to do that, people. Try to get that shape. You can do it with the bevel tool. You can do it with the loop cut tool. These are both very useful tools, and you will use them a lot. So move that in. Let me know if this is working for people, if you're actually getting the kind of shape that you want. And you don't have to worry too much about the scale of stuff right now, because we can click tab, or we can go back into object mode here, and then we can just go ahead and scale the whole thing like we would before. And now we can move it in place. Did that make sense to people, how that kind of works? What the idea behind it is? And then we can copy it over to the other side. And if this is going too slow for you all, or you already have a little bit of an idea of how it works, feel free to just go ahead and make the stuff that you see or whatever you think is cool. Spend the time, and then at the end of it you can post your work on the Discord. I'd love to see it. Spend some time looking at all that. That'd be very cool. Okay, so I hope this kind of made sense for people. We'll go back to using some more basic boxes now. So Shift A, and then you can add cubes or select it from the menu. Let's scale it. Oop. And of course there are other ways of using the poly modeling stuff. So for example here, I want a beam, but it's obviously going too far down. So I could go in and I could try to scale it and move it up, and then it's just like a lot of actions. But instead I could click tab and go into the edit mode, and then select the bottom face here and move it up. And then go back into object mode, and now I have a fitting piece. It's kind of cool, huh? And obviously once you use it a lot, you get really fast at all these things. Yep. So I just copy this over to the other side. And then I'll make the in-between beams. Yep. Right there and there. making this kind of cool little shape. So now I actually feel like my bottom is a little bit too tall. So what do? I can left click and drag a box around all of these. Oop, and then I can just scale them down. If you want to see something really cool, I accidentally selected my light. So I'll just go in here, I'll select it, and then I'll click the little eye here, or click H to hide it. I'll just do that right now. You don't have to, it's just so I don't accidentally select it. So we can go right here and we can scale it all down. So the way I would usually do this on my own is I would just quickly go into edit mode. So do I have something else selected? Okay, never mind. This kind of happens when you're not on your own version of Blender. There we go. So edit mode in the world. Okay, there we go. I had something that was weird. So I would just go in quickly, go so I can see through stuff, and then I can just drag a box around things, and then I can just move it up, right? And you can scale it in that sense. But we'll keep it simple here. And I'll just select all of them and scale it, and then move it up. And now I'll select all of it and move it down a little bit. Okay, and we just keep adding all the shapes that we do see. So scale it down. And we can quickly get something that sort of resembles what it is that we see. I'm gonna add a little trim here. Okay, fair enough. Thank you, animations /sound. Yeah, I kind of got that. So I somehow ended up not having the shape that's outlined in my selection, like that. No, not like that. Oh well, I don't know, it's fine. It is fine. Okay, let's just go ahead and add some more stuff before we get stuck. So for another object, the little bowls here, we can kind of do it with something that's not a cube. So we can add a circle, because the shape is circular. Very smart. We scale it down a little bit. And then we can go into the edit mode. So another tool here to make more edges and more geometry is something called extruding. And to quickly show what that does on a simpler object, it is like, if we have a cube right here, we can go into the edit mode, select the face, and then we click E to extrude it. So what it does is basically just, like pulls out geometry. And you can E, you can extrude, you can select multiple and then extrude, right? So that's what it does. So E, or this button right here, extrude region is called. So when we have our little circle here, when we have our little circle here, we can go into the edit mode. So tab, click up here or something, and then we can extrude. So E, gotta be in the point select mode. So E, extrude, and you get this. So we could be real careful about it, and then E and then Z to only move up, and then scale and stuff like that. But yeah, all of that doesn't really matter so much today. We're just learning, right? So I'll just recommend E, move it up, kind of eyeball the shape, extrude it, or scale it, sorry. And then to move it quickly, you click G, right? G for grab. So G, E, kind of get whatever shape it is that you want for your bowl. G, E, and then G. And if it looks like I'm struggling a little bit with the hotkeys, I actually am, because I use completely different hotkeys on my own Blender setup. And I love my own hotkeys, so there we go. And now we can select the bottom. Yep, GZ to move it up, exactly. So we can select the bottom by like going under here and trying to select that. You can also turn on the ghosting mode up in the top left, the one that looks like a ball with some wires through it. And you can drag a box, select it. You can also just select it like this, and then you can click F for fill. It's also another way of adding geometry. And now we can click A to select everything, Alt A to unselect everything. So A to select everything, and then we can E to extrude. And I just left click, and then I can scale our selection in a little bit. So we kind of get that. So now it has some thickness to it. So basically what happens is when I extrude here, it just takes all the geometry and kind of pulls out from it. So we can use that to our advantage by extruding, letting go, and then just scaling it in. So we kind of have a copy of all the geometry, but it's like pulled out. There we go. And this is very jagged because this is the way that Blender by default renders stuff. It kind of makes every face like faceted, but we can smooth it out. We can smooth out the visuals if we want to. So instead of going through all the menus, I'll teach you something really useful right now. If you click F3 on your keyboard, you get a search function, and here are like all the functions of Blender. So what we're going to search for is something called Auto Smooth. And we're gonna do it in the edit mode. Yep. So A, select everything, and then search for auto. Oops, I cannot reach around my keyboard. Oh my god, is it called something different in the new version? Okay. Oh, my bad, everybody. I guess they changed the name of that, because that is definitely what it's called in my version. So, okay, well, not the end of the world. So let's just try to shade smooth. So look for that one. And it's not going to look ideal because we wanted to use auto smooth, but we can just smooth the whole thing. So it's kind of like that now. And I did an awful job at keeping everything straight, so I can go into ghosting mode. Select this and just move it over a little bit. Okay. Yep. So, oh, it's called smooth by angle now. Interesting. So it's true what Zinsen is saying. You can also right click and hit smooth by angle. That's a good way to do it. So you see how it kind of kept the sharpness where it needed to. You put it down. So my bowl is super wonky, but it's kind of funny, and that's okay too. So we can just always go in and move stuff around. And then you can duplicate the bowl. And you can rotate it. There we go. And look how wonky it is, but it is also kind of charming a little bit. It looks handmade. Are people able to follow along so far? I need to open the door a little bit. It's super warm in here. Hope it's making sense, everybody. Let's go ahead and make a bench, why don't we? Or while we're at the bowls, we can make the little holder that's underneath it. So Shift A. Let's make a cube, move it over. And this will stay very basic, you know, just know that there's a lot of smart ways to do all these things, but we're all about the basics today. And just because there's better ways to do stuff doesn't mean that what you're doing now is not valuable. What you're doing now is getting your foot in the door, and that's probably one of the most valuable things that you can do when it comes to learning any skill. It's kind of getting started with it and getting comfortable with it. So, no, CADA does not have student housing. It does not. Everybody sort of figures out their own housing situation. thankfully the government here does stuff to help you with that if you need it, in case you are a Danish citizen. You can also, yep, so there we go. It's completely okay to ask school related or CADA related questions too. I do not mind that at all. Okay, let's go ahead and make a bench. I'm sure you all by this point can sort of figure out how we're gonna make the bench. If you're brave, you can go ahead and sort of do it in the way that you think makes sense. You don't have to follow every little step or every little thing step by step, I should say. You can go ahead and figure out how you make that shape on your own as well. So there we go, and I think there's like 3 little planks on it. So I just go ahead and duplicate this 3 times. And then drag select them all a little bit closer maybe. Just doing S to scale. I might start using a little bit more of all the hotkeys. So SX to scale on one axis, SY to scale on another. Can drag it up. Nice. So let's look, what else can we do right here, right now? Should we try to make a sign? It's a little bit brave, but you know what? Let's just do it anyways. So for the sign, what I'll do is I'll make a plane and I'll rotate it. So you could just do like X, R, X to rotate on X axis, and then type in 90. It's kind of the fast way to do things in Blender. Boom, and you got exactly 90 degrees on the axis you want. We could also just do it with our hand right now, because if you're new to it, that might be a little overwhelming to think about right now. So let's just scale it. Oops. Oh. And let's keep it real simple for now. So we go into the edit mode, and we can use something called knife. So what you would call it in like Maya or something is called multi-cut. So we can cut out the little legs here. So you see I'm cutting like lines where the legs should be. And now what we can do is we go to our face select, click it, and then, oh shit, oops, sorry, shouldn't swear. What is the default hotkey to? Okay, so X to delete is the default hotkey, and we can do only faces. So if we delete vertices, it'll basically delete all these points because we have them selected, and they'll end up looking like this. That's not what we want. So we can delete only the face here. Boom. Now we have an edge down here that we don't want, so we can X and then delete. Yeah, there we go. So we kind of have our little thing here. We can copy it out and then rotate it. And those of you that are sharp with 3D might already be thinking, oh, there's inverted normals and all that. That's okay. For now, it's okay. So it's a little wonky. And if you remember, we can actually go in here on derotation, and we can straighten stuff out if we want to. We can even widen it a little bit. Okay. people able to work on their little scene. I hope these things are working out. We could make this little box that the whole scene is actually resting in. That would be sort of fun. Sort of nice to frame everything. So a little cube. I hope this is being helpful to people. I could have done something where it's just like follow step A, follow step B, but what I really want you to get out of this session is to get comfortable with the very basic tools. It's not about learning a whole bunch of different tools. It's about being able to create something that you see and not just follow my voice and do step A and step B, you know. So that's why I'm just pulling out cubes and keeping it very, very basic. So you sort of get, hopefully, get the chance to be a little bit brave and maybe pull out a cube somewhere that you see fit and start working on a piece that you want to work on right now. So I'm just working on this bottom little sand pit right now. Okay, and I see my sign needs to go up a bit. So just left click and drag on the sign, move it up. Let me know how everything is going, by the way, if you've been following along so far. Is this concept fun? Is it enjoyable? Are you learning something? Is it relaxing? Is it stressful? How is it? Got some basics already though. Really fun. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, if you got some basics already, I'm sure that you can, if you want to really challenge yourself, there's some challenging stuff in here, you know, like pillows, there's like paper looking stuff, some rocks, like this basket could be really fun to do. So there's definitely some stuff as well. So yeah, so we have this corner right here where two cubes kind of meet each other. So we gotta extend it out a little bit more. So this might be a place where poly modeling becomes very useful. So let's just copy this over to the other side. Yeah. And now we can copy this here. And instead of making a whole new cube and all that, I'm just gonna rotate this. So you can see I'm rotating it right here. So I can just rotate it by minus 90. So you see how it's like almost 90 degrees, minus almost something. So I just do minus 90. And then I scale it in. Thank you very much, Carl. I do appreciate that. I'm glad to hear it, you know. It's sort of really very enjoyable for me when like being able to teach stuff and also maybe helping people relax a little bit. That's really good. Okay, so we have these corners right here and they're not really aligning and it's kind of difficult to scale and all that and try to align it little by little. So now we can go into our edit mode. So tab or click up here to edit mode, and we can click 1, 2 or 3 to go into vertex or point mode, edge mode and face mode. So we can also click up here. So you can't see what I did there, but I just clicked this edge here. Right. You can click it even if you can't see it. And you can sort of move it in. Okay, I tab. I click on the other cube, I click tab, and then I can do this, and I can try to align the edges somewhat. Kind of see how that works. So in the edit mode, you're able to change the shape of an object. And now you got a corner that fits. So same thing here. I just click tab, go in here, tab, click this edge. Whoop. Can kind of align it. Okay, we can move this over. And now I want to spin this around basically, so it's like a around 80-degree turn, so I can do that. Either I can do it on the handles. So you see. Oh. So you see over here, you can rotate it. So it goes from minus 90 to 90, that's 180 degrees, right? Or you can click R, Z, and then type in 180 to spin something around. You can go in here, edit mode, move the edges, fit it in nicely. Yeah, we got that piece down too. Maybe we can make some chopsticks. Can't have a noodle shop without chopsticks. So we add, and this time we add a new shape that we haven't used before, a cylinder. And it also has this kind of jagged look, which we don't want. So we can right click, shade smooth by angle. And what it does is it basically looks for harsh angles and makes those, like, gives a harsh sort of light transition right here. You can see that at the top, because it's a 90-degree angle. It makes a transition, and then for the rest it just smooths it out. So right now I'm just thinning these chopsticks out. And if you ever used chopsticks before, you know that they're a little bit thicker in one end. So we can go into the edit mode, and we can zoom in here, or we can click the bottom, or we can go into ghost mode and we can select the whole bottom. So edge mode, select the bottom, and then you can scale it out a little bit. Of course, you can make these chopsticks as complex or as simple as you want. It's just up to so I accidentally turned on X-ray. There we go. Yep. You can make them a bit thinner. And now let's place them so I can rotate them. So X, Y, and then I type in 90. You can copy them out. So I have a set of chopsticks right here. Maybe scale them in a little bit. Then I can move them down. Nice, we're getting something that's starting to look like a noodle stand. You know what? I think I'll just make them a little bit smaller. There we go. Okay, what else do we see? We have these kind of spoons and stuff. We can just keep going, you know? And that's probably what I'll do for most of the rest of the time. Just keep going, and feel free to ask questions about stuff. If there are no questions, I'll just go over how I'll model all these small pieces. Let's see how much of it we can get done in today's stream. So we got a spoon here, we got a little holder for something. So let's go ahead, maybe we can make that holder, because we're already working with cylinders. So same thing again, right click, shade smooth by angle. Get the shape right, scale it down a little bit, then move it over. And now how do we make it hollow? Gotta be a little bit smart about it. So what we can do is we can go into the edit mode, select the top right here, and then X, and then delete the face. And now we have a hollow shape. If we also wanted to give it some thickness, we can do the same trick that we did with the bowls. We can just go into edit mode, click A to select everything, and then E to extrude, or click out here in the bottom here. And then I left click to let go, and I just scale it in a little bit. And then you can move it up to get that nice edge. Right. Now we can make some spoons, and the spoon is a little bit more of a complex shape, so bear with me on this one. Let's drag the cube out here, and this is common with 3D, that you sort of make an object in a different space and then you drag it into your whole scene or your whole setup. So what we can do right here, I'm gonna start with the bottom part of the spoon, so not the handle. So there are smart ways of doing this, like using a subsurface modifier for the people that know Blender already, but I'll try to use the tools that we already know to kind of really, you know, get the point across, I guess. So first of all, let's extrude the handle. So E, and we can sort of move it up. And I'm kind of thinking ahead right here. Like, what is the future? Sort of like, how do I get all the pieces to fit? And now I can go in with my loop cut tool. So this one right here, or you can click Control R for the hotkey. So I know I need a little bit of a shape right here. I need to add some more edges for control. And now with these edges, what I can do is I can simply select the faces right here. So boop, 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 boop on both sides. So shift. Then you can scale them in. Kind of get a little spoon shape. And you know what, guys, it's okay if your spoon doesn't turn out exactly like mine or whatever. Just go ahead and try it and experiment with the tools right here, because this might be a little bit of a harder shape. Yep. So I go into face mode, E to drag this out, and then I can X to scale in a little bit. And I can see my spoon is a little bit disproportionate, so I can select this face right here and move it up. Now what we can do is we gotta create sort of the part that sticks up, right? So we can add a loop cut like this on the other side and on this side. And if you're really fast, you might already see what I'm trying to do, but I'm basically adding edges around where it is that I want to make an extrusion. And this is what polymodeling is all about. It's kind of like figuring out how to make the right shape, where to put the right edges, and there's a whole, yeah, almost like a science to this, right? So I can select these right here. So I'm just shift selecting. And if you want to, you can also, instead of shift select, you can control select, and it will find the path that goes down there. You can extrude. And this by no means will be a perfect spoon, but it will be our spoon. And again, right click, shade smooth by angle. Maybe we can scale a little bit like that. And we have something that sort of resembles a spoon, and we can go in and we can clean up the shape if we really want to. And there's a lot of ways to fix a lot of these issues that you see. And again, I wouldn't necessarily model the spoon like this if I was doing it, but this is just to get used to the tools that we know. Too much at the same time can be a little bit overwhelming. So we got our spoon here. But the core principles would always be the same. Yep. Just trying to place it on the table right here. Okay, looking good. Sure, and from a distance it kind of looks like sort of what it's supposed to be. Okay, we can make some pots in the back, so we can just duplicate this thing that we already have here. And now we can scale it to make it a little bit thicker and maybe a little less tall. And really, if you can save time when it comes to 3D, it's definitely worth it. Because 3D is something you can really dive into and you can spend as much or as little time as you want. So right here, yeah, we can go ahead and we can just make another cylinder for the lid. So Shift A, cylinder, scale it down. Oops. And then right click, shade smooth by angle. How's it going for y'all? Are you still able to progress? Do you feel like your scene is coming along? And you can be really, yes, that's nice. I'm glad to hear it. And we can be like a little bit sneaky about saving time. For example, I could just duplicate one of these planks that I already have from like the bench. So Control C, Control V, and move it over for the handle. And then RZ, and then 90 is just what I'm typing on my keyboard. Or you can rotate it manually. Both are fine. Scale it down a little bit. I can't tell if there's two or okay, there is actually two, so let's do that. Okay, maybe they're a little bit thinner, so we can use the scale. Oops. Okay, oops, sorry, there we go. Okay, we can scale, make it thinner, put it down, and then duplicate it over. There we go, we can select all of them, and then rotate them all together. There we go. And now we can select all of them and duplicate them over at the same time. So Control C, Control V, and we get a second pot. And then maybe we can just move it a little bit too, so it doesn't feel too, yeah, too like, clean is not the right word, but I'm sure you sort of understand what I mean by that. Okay, coming along, it's pretty cute. I guess we can add something down into the pot. It does look like, this looks like a little chopstick holder maybe. So I selected both of them, Control C, Control V, and then I just rotate them so they look like they're resting inside this little chopstick holder. And then maybe another set. Well, I guess it's difficult for you all to follow the concept when I keep zooming in and out. I do apologize about that. I did not think about that. But yeah, I mean, feel free to look up any noodle shop, right? And look at the concepts from it, and you can always transfer like any idea to your own noodle shop. Okay, great. Let's see how much time we have left. Should we make a flag? That'd be kind of fun. Let's make a flag. We can make all these. Yeah. For the flag, we want a flag pole. So obviously, at this point, we should all know that we start with a cylinder for that. We scale it down real thin. And so one important thing to consider here, maybe you don't think about it when you're very new to modeling, but this thing is rotated. So it's easier to model the little flagpole with the flag on it and then rotate them all together instead of rotating the pole and then trying to model a flag onto a rotated pole. That just makes it more difficult for yourself. I hope that explanation made sense for people. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the flag as a cube. Give it a little bit of thickness. It'll be a very, very thin cube though. Make it tall. And then now, because we want to align them and they're both unaligned, we can go to our X location. So the red is the X. And we can just highlight the number and write 0. Write 0. And now they're both perfectly aligned. So we want to make these straps that go around here. So there are many ways of doing it. The way we're gonna do it is by adding some loop cuts. So we're just gonna hold on. Yeah, so we can just add some loop cuts right here. If you click Control R, you can kind of get a little bit more control of where they are. So we can add one right here, and then we can add one right under it, and you can kind of imagine what this is gonna do, because we can extrude right here. So that's kind of smart. So let me go right here. Okay, very simple, just loop cutting away. And then we can click E to extrude. And then, so what happens here, it goes right through the flagpole. But we can kind of get it to look like it's wrapping around by making a loop cut in the middle and then scaling it out. Or we can just move this face into the middle and then make it thicker until it goes through. And then we can extrude and then make it thinner on the other side. And we have this hard edge here, should be, okay, it's a little bit too harsh for it. Okay, but this is good enough for kind of where we're at and what we want to do. So let's go ahead and do that on the other ones too. So extrude, SX to scale it, or use the tools that you do have. And then extrude again, scale inwards. So do the same down here. E, scale it out. E, And if the hotkeys are a little bit difficult to remember right now, you can always use the tools out here. So let's just shade it flat for now. Okay, great. And so what we do now is we just select both of them and we move them over. Let's look at the scale, maybe a little bit too big, so we just scale them down together. Does the rotate? Then we can rotate them a little bit. And let's just make sure that's actually touching the sand. Yep. You can scale it up a little bit too. So there we go. I hope even if you couldn't maybe follow the flag, at least you kind of got the idea behind it, how that works. If you could and you got your own little flag, that would make me very, very happy as well. That would be really awesome. So what is this thing right here? It's some sort of lantern. I can probably make some sort of lantern too. So let's try to do that. By the way, everybody, if there's any kind of a topic that you're really interested in or would like to learn or something like that, you can always write to me on Discord. My name is ONUR on the CADA Discord, and if there's something, maybe if it fits in for a stream or something, maybe we could sort of get that to work. A topic or a subject or maybe an object that you want to create. Yep, so actually we should create the bottom of the roof like this. And whenever you see these little artifacts here, it's because the software, when you have two surfaces that are in the exact same position, it doesn't know which one of them to show, so it kind of glitches out a little bit. And to prevent that, you just gotta scale one of them up a little bit or down a little bit. Yeah. For a bit more fine control when you're scaling stuff, you can never mind. Yeah, you can hold shift and you get that low fine control. Minus 90, kind of making that little pole that sticks out. How to put text on stuff. So are you talking about 3D text? So how do you make some kind of 3D text and put it on something else? There is actually, you can add right here. There's also an object called text right here. So if you wanted to, you could go in here. And then you can go into image as plain. Yeah, image as plain. Yeah. You can go into the edit mode and you can write whatever you want. So you can more Carl Heinz. You can do that, and then you can F3 and then convert to mesh. Now you can go into edit mode and you can extrude from this, and you actually got like some 3D as a flag. Ooh, okay, so that is for next week. We're gonna be doing texturing, and that is all about putting, how should I say this, how you paint stuff. So that's how, so if you want to know that, you should follow next time, and we'll be coloring, and maybe we'll be coloring this exact thing, or whatever it is that you have on your end. We can color it together and go through all of that, how that works. It's basically called texturing. Sigh. Oh, sorry. I'm hitting you with the cliffhanger. Follow for next time. Follow for more. On which software? We'll be doing it in Blender. Thank you, Rival. Been doing it with the very, very simplest of tools, just like primitives and very, very little poly modeling. I thought that would be nice for all the people to follow along with. So we're gonna make some kind of wire right here, and we'll just use a basic cylinder, and we'll scale it up and down and sort of put it in place. It's just to show that you can get very, very far with the very, very basic tools, right? We can copy it and just rotate it over to the other side. So for this one, it'd definitely be useful to do a little bit of poly modeling, but we are also getting close to the end. Sadly, everybody. I would like to spend some time looking at what other people have made as well. That'd be really fun. So there we go. Kind of got a little lantern right there. You just had to do that. Yep, cliffhangers. Okay. And for this, I'll just right here go into the edit mode. You can select the face at the end and then push it in instead of scaling it, right? Okay. If we want to put some lights on this now, I'll kind of keep it for the whole modeling part for now. I'll keep it at here. I think we got the beginning of a very, very cute scene, and you can all work on your own more after the stream if that is what you feel like. If you want this picture, I can also post it. I'll probably post it on the Discord. You can keep looking at that. So at this point, we can actually put some lights in our scene if we want to. So by default, your Blender scene already comes with a light. And we can, up here we can select, so this is like the different modes to, like the different lenses in the software, so you can view it for a modeling purpose. This just shows all the shapes, it doesn't respect any lights or realism or anything like that. And then there's different shading methods. So this one up here is kind of like the realistic sort of view. So you can see there's a bunch of shadows and everything. And right now I'll just show stuff. This is not really part of the whole modeling for beginners thing, but I'll just show you how to get a nice picture out of your model if that's what you want to do. So we click out here. These are like the little bit more complex, or these are like all the settings of the software, and you can kind of delve into all these menus. But the top one here called render, the one right up under tool, we can go in and we can select our render engine. And this might be a lot of stuff for someone who's very, very new to Blender, but don't worry, you just basically, you got a different set of render engines, and one is more realistic than the other, let's just say for now. So you can switch it to cycles if you want. So this is a ray tracer. Ray tracer is what it's called. It's like realistic shadows and lights and everything. Let's see if we can get this to render out without changing any settings. So if you didn't delete it, you should have a camera in your scene. You can move it around, and if you click numpad 0, this is basically what your camera sees, right? You can rotate it around. And if your PC is very slow, this might be tough. You can always just use the Eevee renderer, and that should run a lot smoother. So let's say for now, while I'm just setting it up, I'll just be using the Eevee renderer. And then once I'm ready, I'll switch to the heavy duty Cycles renderer. You can actually lock your view, so your view becomes the camera, but for now let's just move it with the tools that we already know. And it needs to go out a lot more. And these are like real cameras, so if you wanted to, if you've done any photography, you can like go in and you can change the focal length and the zoom and put a bunch of filters on it and all that, right? So let's say we want to render this out. So we switch to Cycles. And now we can just say, okay, well, maybe let's get it a little bit nicer. Not that we spent so much effort on it. Numpad 0 to go into the camera view. Okay, a little bit more, and let's say this is what we want. Kind of like this, fair enough. And of course you can always add more lights and all that, you know. You can kind of think of lighting in 3D like you would think of lighting in real life, you know. It's all the same principles and stuff like that. But we just keep it very simple. And let's see. So we just go here and we click render image. We can go and see, yep, it's already saving as a PNG. If you want to pick where it renders to, you click the output, and then there's like a little output folder here, but we should also be able to. The stream might lag a little bit while it's rendering. It's because it's using like all the PC's resources. And I have no idea what the render settings are right now. So this might render at a reasonable pace, or it might not as well. And you guys, you don't need to render. You can also just take a screenshot of what you have and put it on the Discord. That'd be really cool, so we could all look at what we all did. So these are the things for the last time. And by the way, these two beetles were really cool, and I think we might just print all of them. I want to test out our new resin printer, so I might just go ahead and print all of them. Is this thing done yet? Not yet. Yeah, so once you all feel ready or have taken a screenshot or something, feel free to post it in the chat. That'd be really cool, and we could take a look at it. There's a CADA Discord, and you just go to the 3D Bootcamp chat. And you can post your work there. Okay, so this is actually lagging the stream. Okay, sorry guys, I think that lagged the stream a lot, so I'll just stop it for now. You can also render it out in Cycles or in Eevee, and it kind of looks fine too. So I'll go ahead and post my thing on the Discord, and hopefully I can see some of your work too. And don't worry about, you know, stuff not being perfect. That's not what it's about. You all know that, right? It's just we're learning and having fun together, and community just makes learning a new skill so much more fun. So interacting with a community is definitely an important thing as well. So stand I did for modeling 3D bootcamp. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Cute. The beginning of something great. And you even got the spoon in there. That's nice. Oh, bench as well. I mean, this is great. There's even some thickness on the sign. I see that. Your sign is actually very nice. Go back in to add more details. Yeah, definitely. This is cute. Yeah, it's nice. I'm actually impressed how close you guys were to the concept. Like, you can see it's all the same. And I was like flying around on my reference and everything, so it must have been a little bit difficult. It's exactly what I wanted. I'm so happy to see it. And you even got the little sun blocker. That's nice. I should give all of these a big heart. Good job, everybody. Are there anyone else that are on the verge of posting something or still working on it? And if there's any questions about all of this, just let me know, everybody. That's really nice to see. I'm happy to see it all. So, could I ask, how was it? Was it enjoyable? Was this exercise nice? Like, did you get something out of it? It was kind of on a whim. I just thought that would probably be a really good, like, fun thing for beginners to do. Maybe tomorrow. I'm not done yet. Yeah, of course, post it whenever. I'll be checking the chat. Very interesting. That's nice. Yeah, I mean, it was fun for me too. I enjoyed it. Always good to practice this stuff. Yeah, of course. Wasn't sure if it was appropriate to post it in the bootcamp, so I posted on Creative Show Off instead. No, it's always appropriate. Practicing a little head sculpt. Okay, I see. That's nice too. It's always even if you're not doing the same thing, it can be nice to like model and sculpt together with other people doing something creative. I do quite enjoy that myself. It's nice. Okay, everybody. I think this is coming to an end. I'm very happy to see the result, and I'm happy to hear that y'all enjoyed it very much. So for now, I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you all hopefully on next Wednesday at the same time, and we'll go over how to texture stuff. Your pace is good in both speaking part and explaining on the way. I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad that it could be useful and that you could follow along a little bit. Okay, everybody. So I'll say goodbye and see you next time for some texturing. So hopefully you have a good rest of your evening. Bye-bye.